Oh. You are a young wizard seeking treasure and glory. You are walking along a path in the forest. One day's journey from the ring city, your beloved home. Night has just fallen and you're thinking about how it might be a good idea to find a campsite. After all, you're in goblin territory and it's dangerous to travel in the dark. Suddenly you smell something awful. Reginald? Rignold? Are you responsible for that outrageous smell? You ask the warrior striding ahead of you. Pray no, I am always downwind from my companions when I squeeze the bellows. Rignold answers. You realize that you have never encountered this stench before and it is close, and perhaps it is your imagination, but it's that muffled breathing you just heard. It is an ambush, you shout. Startled, Ringo springs off the ground like a jackrabbit, his chain armor jingling. Just then out of the brush several snarling goblins, their eyes glowing green in the murky darkness. They charge with their short spears. With an arcane word and a flourish of one hand, you send a bolt of fire into the leader of the charge, who drops to the ground, thrashing in flames. Regnold hacks down another with his sword. The remaining three run away, whooping and yipping. Their cries are joined by others from the dark forest all around. Many calls from far, too many goblins to fight toe to toe. It's a hunting party, probably tracking wild game. We humans are a delicacy, much better than mutton, Regnold says. You regard the two dead goblins on the ground. Dead goblins are worth 10 gold pieces per head in the city. Luckily, you don't need to carry their heads around the city. Authorities will accept their left ears. What do? Cut the ears off. Get the ears, you exclaim as you pull out razor-sharp dagger from your belt. For a second, your sometimes slow-witted warrior sidekick doesn't understand, but as you start sawing away at the first ear, he gets the idea and fishes out his own dagger. Soon you have a bloody goblin ear stuffed in your pocket, and Ragnold has one of his own. Nasty. Very, however, 10 gold pieces are nearly 6 months of wages to a common laborer, so you're willing to take the hit. What now, Rignold asks. Certainly. There are excellent places to hide in the forest if we can just make it until morning. True, the goblins may have dogs, and their own sense of smell is keen, you say. We might climb a tree, then that would at least be defensible, Rignold says. You wish to be treed like a fox with goblins barking underneath? If you wish a position that is both defensible and allows some freedom of movement, we should hasten to the castle Inverness. It is near, and we could fortify ourselves behind those walls, Reginald says. You frown. It is a fortress, yes, but inhabited by what? God knows what manner of creatures may have taken up residence in the ruin over the years. Castle Inverness is near. Let us take refuge behind those stone walls, you say. Goblin hunting calls echo from all around in the forest as the two of you dash up the path 100 meters or so, where you find a fork in the road. The path to the right appears to be seldom used since it is nearly overgrown. The path to your left is clear, and you think you see firelight down that way. Could this fire belong to the goblins, or if you're lucky, it's the campfire of another friendly adventuring party? Investigate fire. Okay. So it turns out the fire does belong to goblins. What did you expect? You're in goblin country, after all. You've come up to a clearing with two goblins, staring hungrily at a rack of mutton sizzling over a fire. Apparently these guys are more keen on guarding their next meal than joining the rest of the hunting party. Before you can decide whether to turn back or kill them, one of them spots you and screams out. Ragnar shoots the other one with his bow while the other one runs off. What a cowardly lot they are. You run back to the fork in the road and head towards the castle. On the other way, you hear a whistle in your ear, then another, and then feel a sting just above your hip. They do have bows. The wound isn't bad. It's a small arrow shot by a weakling. No doubt you pull it out without losing stride. After a minute of stumbling down, what is best described as a game trail. You see the shadowy husk of the ruin in the moonlight ahead. Unfortunately, the battle cries of your pursuers are closer than ever, and when you look back over your eyes, you see glowing eyes. The two of you turn on a boost of speed, and soon the outer walls of the castle loom before you. It is about 10 feet high and crumbling. You realize with horror that there are no holes on this side and are large enough to fit through. Meanwhile, Regnold, a faster runner than yourself, has disappeared around the north corner of the wall. A short spear whistles past your head. You look back and see these four little beasts. You stay your course towards the wall, and with an arcane word you leap into the air. Up, up you go, like a giant grasshopper. Over the top you've made it, but now you're falling down, down into the castle courtyard. You hit the ground hard, but you roll with it. Fortunately, the neglected courtyard grass is nearly as tall as you are. It acts as a cushion. There's a ladder nearby that you climb to get up to the battlements. There are 4 goblins at the base of the wall. Clattering angrily, one of them begins climbing up the rotten rock. You decide this is a good place to take stand. There is a lot of loose rock at the top of the wall. They're not particularly strong, thanks to your inactive life as a wizard. However, you expect you could push a few large rocks down upon this climber. On the other hand, they are all out in the open, and your spells would certainly be effective now. Got medieval on them. Technology used was primitive and your actions weren't pretty or subtle, but you can't argue with the results. Absolutely, why waste your magical energy, mana, when instead you could use the time-honored trick of hurling rocks down upon your enemy? Very medieval of you. Sure enough, there are some large loose stones nearby, which you push upon the climbing attacker. The first one misses, but he looks up just in time to get a melon-sized rock right to the face, making a watery, crunching sound. He falls back onto the earth where he lies motionless. The other 3 look up, scream in rage, and back off. Suddenly you feel battlement boards below you shake too. The unmistakable rhythm of footsteps. Gods, they got behind me, you think. Charging along the runway is the shadow of a tall and lanky man carrying something about. Regnold, you sigh in relief. You must have found another way in. Regnold leans over the wall and seemingly without even aiming gets loose an arrow. One of the little devils below falls to the ground, squirming with an arrow in its chest. The others scatter back towards the forest with their eyes turned away. They make difficult targets in the scant moonlight. Nevertheless, your friend takes one more down before the rest make the safety of the woods. We have struck terror into that advance party, but they will call for reinforcements. We have the wall. Can we hold it? Regnold asks. We could go in. You point to the castle keep beyond the courtyard. The castle is 3 stories tall, or at least it had been before the top layer partially collapsed. The second story is barely any better. The fortress is as lifeless and still as a painting. Still, you wonder if anyone is looking back at you from the dark windows and arrow slits of the ruin. What do you suggest? Enter the castle now. 2 are not enough to defend all 4 walls. Away to the keep, you shout. You run across the courtyard and open the large wooden double doors which shriek on rusty hinges. Unlocked. This may be a trap, my friend. We best be on our guard. Regnold says. Once inside, Regnold slams and bars the doors. The entrance chamber is large with a high vaulted ceiling. The stone walls are cracked and flaking. The ground is strewn with loose rubble. The air is stale aside from the double doors behind you. There are close wooden doors on the north, east, and west walls. Near the north door there is a stairway going up, but it is blocked by rubble. It is not long before the front doors begin to rattle violently through a nearby arrow slit. You can see glowing eyes and the glint of axes chopping away at the door. You're not sure how long the barred portal will hold them. Regnold wants to hide deeper in the castle. On the other hand, this place smells of death. It might be prudent to take a few seconds to investigate the room and doors. You motion to Regnold to check the east door. You inspect the ground and see that there has been traffic through here. Some of the tracks on the dusty floor appear to be from human-sized shoes or boots. while others appear to be from bare feet far too large to be from men. None of the tracks appear to belong to goblins. Listening, you can't hear anything over the goblins thumping and screaming outside. You direct the light of your lantern at the northern door and are about to turn towards the eastern door when something catches your attention. Was that an eye, you wonder? You think you caught a glimpse of a glistening eyeball through a rotting hole in the northern door. Casually, as you've just taken another look, you sweep your lantern over the door again, pausing for an instant. Yes, that was an eye. You were being watched, and although your glimpse of it was fleeting, you could tell the eye did not belong to a human. The white of the orb is pink with blood, while the retina is pitch black and large. You would like to get a better look at the creature. There is a minor spell you normally use to magically open doors from a distance. You find it tedious opening doors yourself. As long as the door is unlocked, you could use this lazy wizard spell to open the eye door without being too close. On the other hand, that may frighten or anger whomever the eye belongs to. Perhaps you should just talk to it. Maybe you could join forces against the goblins. Alternatively, you might be able to hurl a bolt of fire through that eye hole. Not an easy shot, but you have the element of surprise. Finally, there's the running option, a choice that has been keeping wizards alive for 1,000 years. Diplomat, just talking can often get you what you want. Language, even a greater invention than fire. You must your courage, face the door, and raise your voice to be heard over the pounding and shouting goblins. We mean you no harm. We wish only to crack. The door explodes open. The light of your lantern streams into the doorway to reveal a huge massive monster stooping over. He holds a massive spiked club in one hand and a melon-sized rock in the other. He steps into the room. Devil's tongue, it's an ogre. Reginald curses. Greetings, you say, Master. Your most cheerful smile. The yonder goblins are disrespecting your property. Let us join forces against them. Just then the front doors of the castle open like a tidal wave. Crashing on the beach, a heap of goblins fall into the room, creatures one on top of the other. A chorus of glee erupts from their fanged mouths. The ogre hurls a stone straight at you. You duck and hear a squishy thud behind you. Where diplomacy may not have exactly worked, but now an opportunity time to let the ogre and goblins become acquainted without you. Reginald and you nearly collide in your haste through the eastern portal. Once through, you slam the door closed from the entrance chamber you just left. Come goblin yips of triumph, which then turn into screams of terror that are immediately drowned out by the earth-shaking snarl. Next is the sharp slapping of flesh against flesh, and the wet sound of bodies ripping apart. You run from one room to the next. The ogre is not much of a housekeeper. The castle is full of giant cobwebs and broken furniture. Finally, you enter a larger room, a dining room. As evidenced by a long wooden table and 2 fireplaces, you motion to Reginald to stop, and you both listen faintly. You can hear the far-off sounds of battle from behind you. Can't leave that way, you think. Just then you hear something else, labored breathing, and is that crying for glory and the loot. You think to yourself as you take the lead. You quickly realize that the sound seems to be coming from this very room. You creep over to the other end of the dining hall and see a young woman sitting on the ground chained to a fireplace, rocking back and forth and sobbing. Her cries break off and she looks up at you with expressions of fear that quickly turn to surprise. Who are you? She asks. You tell her your names and that you are here to smite evil while making your fortune. Suspends a smile to her face, a pretty smile, you suspect, although it's hard to tell under all the dirt smudged on her face. She gives her name as Siba and says, there is a key to her chains on the table. Sure enough, beside cracked and dusty china is a small brass key. As you set about unlocking her, she tells you that she is a merchant's daughter who was traveling with her father's trade caravan when it was attacked by a mighty ogre with a small band of priests of an evil god wearing dark cloaks. Those of her party not killed in the initial attack were taken prisoner and chained up in this room. One by one they were taken away by the priests, never to return. They took my father. Siba sniffles. No doubt he is slain, but I must try to find him. Will you help me? You ask her if she has any idea where her father or the others might be, but she knows little of the rest of the castle. Reginald takes you aside and says, "Ought we take her to safety and then look for her father on our own? She will be in danger traveling with us." You agree that having some half-starved, unharmed merchant's daughter tripping along behind you will only get her killed, but where is safety? Last time you checked, the courtyard was crawling with goblins, and according to her, the castle's residents are not very good hosts. What do you do? A clever move, you're a tricky one. There are a ton of hiding places in this ruin. You find a nice pile of rubble for her to hide behind a few rooms away. You tell her to keep quiet and that you'll get back to her. Stay still and quiet here, we will return. Well, if we do not return by morning, escape as best as you can. You instruct her clever, so as you leave her, if the wizards find Siba missing, they will not expect her to remain in the castle. With luck, they will leave the castle altogether to find her. We can explore unhindered, you say with a smile. The castle is quiet and dark. You walk into a wide hallway that branches in two directions. One direction is covered in a thick layer of dust, while the other is covered in footprints. You decide that it would be wise to get a lay of the land before looking for any trouble. Despite the faint smell of rotting flesh from the dusty hall, you decide that it would be wise to go this way first. Less monsters, more treasure, or at least you hope. You have kept your lantern hooded, only allowing slivers of light out. After all, you want to remain stealthy. The way is dim, however, and you find yourself tripping over rubble and the odd piece of furniture ahead. There is stench of rot, making you wonder if there might be something terrible hidden in the shadows. Too bad you can't see in the dark like a goblin. What do you do? Unhood the lantern. Since you appear to be entering a vacant part of the castle, you expect your light will not attract enemy attention, so you unhood the lantern to see your way clearly. As you move along, the cobwebs thicken and thicken. Spider ignored yelps. He points his sword up at the ceiling, and there's an enormous hairy spider suspended by a massive yarn, thick webs. The webs are dotted with small, silky cocoons you suspect might encase rats or other small prey. With trembling fingers, Regnal sheathes his sword and unslings his bow. He takes in a big breath as he fits an arrow, draws back the string, and fires. The spider flails its long legs for a moment and drops out of the web onto the floor. With a thud, the two of you move, taking extra care to watch the ceiling. Eventually, the two of you make your way to a spiral staircase going up the upper regions. Felt places like this are safer than the lower levels, says Regnal. Why in Neville's tongue would that be, you say? Regnal shrugs. Do not ask me what is in the mind of fiends and evil-hearted beasts. Perhaps they prefer the darkness and stagnant air below ground. You look up the stairway inside. Well, perhaps we can get a view of the courtyard and the goblins from up there. Regnal leads the way up to the stairs, which leads into a small tower. Moonlight filters in through the two windows. This room is finely furnished and otherwise much more nicely kept than the rest of the castle you've visited so far. There is a small bed, still made. On one end, an ornate table and a bookshelf. On the table is an open fairy tale book and a golden embossed hand mirror. Seeing loot, you forget about the windows and the potential view of the courtyard. You pick up the mirror and expect it. Strange, says Signal. There's no dust up here. And do you feel a draft? We are in a ruin, you say. Of course there's a draft. The glass in the windows is still intact, mutters Regnal. Gazing at your reflection in the mirror, you decide you look pretty good. All things considered, you brush cobwebs from your wavy brown hair. You smile. You're happy to see that your teeth are looking particularly good. Of course, you deserve nice teeth, since unlike most people you know, you take care of them. Every morning you wipe your teeth with a cloth dipped in cleaning concoction consisting of vinegar, salt, and a little sand, and a small measure of your own urine. You are about to pull yourself away from the mirror and put it in your backpack when you glimpse a translucent skull with thin, wispy hair just behind you in the reflection. You spin it around and see not a skull but a young girl floating a few feet in the air, her pale face fixed on you. Regnal sees her too, as evidenced by him running down the stairway. How dare you touch what is mine, the ghostly girl shouts. You back up and reflexively put the mirror back on the table. You have heard tales of powerful ghosts that can suck the life right out of you, and wondered if this Girl is one of those. What do you do? You mutter an arcane phrase and across yourself a faint shell materializes around you. You are one of them. The apparition wails. The small bed shoots across the room towards you. Your protection spell might repel ghosts, but it does not stop physical objects hurled by them. You jump just in time to avoid getting your legs smashed against the wall. You land on top of the bed without a moment to lose. You leap off the bed and bound down the stairways. Theirs is wailing and crashing above. That fortunately the ghost does not follow beyond her room. You immediately find Reginald. He had not strayed far. He begins asking questions, but you put up your hand another time. You say, "You have reached a checkpoint." Good job. Okay. I'm going to stop at this checkpoint. And I will start this one back up in the next video. Bye bye.